Greetings, soul family. Today I wanted to come and talk to you guys about what we have all been hearing about this dawn of the age of Aquarius, because I know that some people probably have questions about that. What does that even mean? Where did that come from? How did y'all calculate that? Who calculated that? A lot of questions, I know. And there is a bit of some discrepancy about people not being sure of if the Age of Aquarius just started in the year 2000, if it won't start until the year 2400, if it's starting right now. So there is a little there's little discrepancies about that. But I want to get into what the age even means. And so this Age of Aquarius is an example of an astrological age. And the astrological age is simply based off of two factors. Think about the earth and the fact that the earth spins on its axis every day. And that's why the sun sets and the sun moves according to us. But really, it's just the earth moving on its axis makes the sun appear as if it's moving, and the earth moving around, of course. However, as the earth moves on its axis, the axis itself also makes a very slow circle. And that circle that axis makes literally takes 2,160 years, okay? But basically, though, to move through each sign, it is based off of where the sun is at the time of the spring equinox, okay? So I'm guessing that but it takes a whole 26,000 years just to make that full circle. But it takes 2,100 full circle, as in the whole zodiac wheel. But it only takes 2,160 years to go through each sign. So basically, every 2,000 years, there is a new age, okay? And so this process, the way that it moves, it doesn't move in the natural zodiac sequence. It moves in retrograde, okay? So if we started at Aries, that means that then we went to Taurus. Excuse me. That means that then we would come to Pisces. But I wanted to talk about some of the information that we have about what the different ages have looked like for humanity, with it being basically these 2,000 year spans, okay? And so the thing is, one, I want to say too, if we are moving into the Age of Aquarius, it would actually not be until March, which is in the spring equinox. But either way, we're on the dawning of it. And one thing that I want to say too is that the transitional period for each age, it's like it takes 200 to 300 years for it to really like set in. So whether we are in the Age of Aquarius or we are on the dawning of it, the transition makes it so that you are starting to feel the effects of the Age of Aquarius no matter what stage we are in, but are still kind of clearing out of that Pisces energy. So the lines are kind of blurred. And I want to say too that the way that they view the stars in astronomy and their spacing is different than the astrology rules, because the stars move every year. So that is also why, like, a little bit by a little bit, that is why it's a little bit of, misinformation and miscommunication and confusion about when it actually starts, because people have different opinions. But either way, the dawning is upon us and we are making that transition. And it's based off of the solar system's own, astrological age. It's not based off of any planet specifically other than Earth, because we are on Earth and we don't necessarily always calculate Earth in astrology. Like, there is no Earth sign, there's a sun sign, so yes, I hope that all of this is making sense. But so now we have reached a new stage, a new age, and it's the Age of Aquarius. But what I wanted to share with you is some of the records and history that has been observed about each age that we've already seen, and what that can tell us about what is coming for the Age of Aquarius, okay? So first of all, we had the Age of Leo, and the Age of Leo was literally the golden years. That's when sun worship was a thing. That's when the ice age actually melted, because Leo is ruled by the sun. The sun is the ruling planet for Leo. So that's why there was the golden ages. You think of Leo, you think of the sun, you think of golden, you think of heat, and you think of the fact that they literally worshipped the sun at that time. And you'll find that a lot of the astrological ages really ruled what spirituality and religion looked like for people. So moving backwards, after the age of Leo, we had the age of Cancer. And the age of Cancer is when we had a lot of voluptuous, like woman, feminine art. Like, that's when a lot of those voluptuous statues came out. That's when honoring the matriarch was very popular. That's when more worship of like goddesses was popular. That is also when people started to find themselves domesticated, when people were building homes, because Cancer is divine feminine energy. Cancer is ruled by the moon. Cancer has a lot to do with feminine woman, matriarchal energy, as well as the home. So people were creating families at this time. This is when nomadic energy kind of came to a halt. I forgot to write down like the specific dates for all of this. I'm so sorry, but these are 2,000 years at a time. But you can look this stuff up yourself and look for the actual dates. Then after the age of Cancer, we had the age of Gemini, and that's when written language became really important. And that is also when people started to see the duality of things in a way that they weren't necessarily before. We started to put a lot of labels on things, and with labels came separation, and with more language came more separation, because we couldn't talk to each other as much anymore. And even that's when the twin archetype came in mythology. A lot of splitting off is what happened with the age of Gemini, and just a lot of language. And then that's when trade and commerce happened as well, because Gemini also has a lot to do with trade and commerce, along with language and communication. Also, if you think about it, that is when a lot of like certain religious stories actually started to come out, because we were once again writing down things. So the Garden of Eden is said to have happened in the Gemini era, because if you think about the Garden of Eden, they got punished for eating off the tree of knowledge. They wanted more knowledge. This is when people wanted more knowledge, probably when we started to really look at the concept of like school, because we were starting to have written language, and you had to learn that. You had to go to school to some degree to do that. So after the age of Gemini was the age of Taurus, and the age of Taurus has to do with money. That's when like coins and ways to pay really came out. No longer were we necessarily bartering. We were really creating currency. The first early ideas of banking came out. This is when bull worship was a thing, as well as the worship of the nature spirits. Fertility goddesses became very popular at this time. And it was very peaceful. There was harmony, maybe even more exploration of like sensual and like artistry and things like that, because that's Taurus energy. With the Aries energy, that's when a lot of weaponry started to be, earliest stages of weaponry really like came out. That's when we had a lot of that Greek mythology of like heroes, and like more war times. That was the beginning. And see, so the age of Aries is from about 2000 BC to about 0 AD. So this is right when we're on the verge of monotheism, and we are getting these hero stories at first. So from 2000 to 0, like Aries was all about those hero stories, warrior energy. That's when, like, think of like the Odyssey, think of Troy, think of that era. But then as we shifted into Pisces, and like even in the Aries period, we came to monotheism. Prior to Aries and Pisces, we had a lot more polytheism. We had, a lot more worship of nature and, several gods, and believing in, different ideas and things. But once we saw the age of Pisces usher in, that's when we got a lot of religion, because people were really looking for something to believe in, because of the fact that the astrological age sequence is retrograded, so it goes backwards. So we went from Aries, which is very need of survival, war, our energy, and Pisces came more with like, oh no, we are one, elevate above the ego, go to the soul. We want religion. At 0 AD is literally when Jesus was born, so literally ushering in religion. And Pisces literally represents fish. Who were the disciples of Jesus? Fishermen, apparently. I didn't really know that, but I read that, so that's a thing. But that explains why there's always that little fish for Jesus. I learned something new today. I didn't know that. But yes, and with Pisces energy, we ushered out heroes and aggressive energy, and we ushered in saints. It's interesting because we go backwards, but we still learn even as we go backwards. You know, there is like an evolution, but it also shows how we kind of have to, there's going to be a cycle, you know, of going backwards and then technically going forward, you know, because to go from Aries to Pisces, that's like launching yourself forward, you know, but then making your way back down. But more evolved thinking from the Aries to the Pisces, and not to be Aquarius. Also, I want to say with Pisces too, not only is Pisces about spirituality, but it's also about all things hidden, subconscious, imprisonment, as well as any illusions, you know, lies that can be told. So there were lies told, and there was a lot of illusion that really came out of Pisces, as well as a lot of like martyr feelings of like, oh, the collective, I have to do this for the collective, I have to be one, you know, like melting into, and that spirituality is cool and that's great, and it is about connectedness and oneness. However, just making sure that we don't get caught up in like just meshing into the collective. And so here's where Aquarius comes in, and Aquarius tells us you can be part of the collective, you can have humanitarian efforts without having to be a martyr. Aquarius tells us that we can have boundaries with our community while still contributing to it. Aquarius tells us that we don't have to completely let go of the ego to try to attain the soul, because we have both. We are born with both for a reason, and the point is to mesh them. It's to find fluidity between logic and thought and faith. You know what I'm saying? But not having blind faith. Like, I think Pisces era is a lot of blind faith. People have a lot of blind faith in their religion and get lied to. I think that Aquarius is a mixture of knowledge and that faith that we learned from the age of Pisces, as well as the revelation of any lies that were being told in the Pisces era. So, looking at the age of Aquarius, there's more knowledge. There is, a lot more technological use. And some people thinking that it started in 2000 would make sense, because that is when we really saw that boom in technology from 2000 to now. Think of all of the things that we've seen happen in technology. That is very Aquarius energy. But also talking about the fact that with knowledge comes power, with technology comes power, and also having to watch that some people. So that's the thing of like, this era is about meshing the ego and the soul. But you have to remember that also, because it's dawning, and that's the process of the era. We are at this point with a polarity of people that are more ego and people that are more soul. And so, the ego are going to abuse their knowledge and their power, and the people that maybe have more soul might rebel against that. And so I think the point is that, with the rebellion energy that is happening, we should, use soul, but also use knowledge and the strength of our egos to be able to, move forward in this time so that we are not divided. Really understanding community, understanding that the growth of me is the growth of we, the growth of the collective. And that is a healthy amount of ego to have, is to love yourself enough to want to grow, to help your community. Yes. And also with this Aquarius energy, not only just with technology and community, but just really, I think there's going to be a lot of redefinition in a way that we've never seen before. And, in the end, as we move more into the age of Aquarius, I feel like there will be more harmony to some degree. But right now, I think first there is going to be some anxiety, because Aquarius energy is very it's faster moving, faster vibrating, and when you think about the nervous system and how that ties to the brain, and how Aquarius energy is like, it's air, and air is like thought, air is nervous energy, because even our nervous system has to do with like how much, energy we're transmitting, and energy is just vibration, and air is just vibration, so just making sure that at this time we're doing our breath work. It is very important at this time to not let your thoughts get the best of you, because Pisces might have been more emotional, might have been more spiritual, more fluid. Aquarius is more thought, mental, nervous system. So you might find a lot of people being very nervous, being very anxious, as people have been, and making sure that you have that faith that Pisces, the age of Pisces, taught us to get you through any times that are too nerve-wracking, any times that are too mentally overwhelming, with all of the thoughts that we're going to have to process, and all the things that we're going to have to keep up with, and even the fact that we'll be sharing a lot of anxiety between each other. There's an anxiety over the collective, and that's why it's very important that we keep our peace individually, so that we can handle any anxiety that is coming in the collective. But also, one thing that I want to say too, talking about these ages and things like that, I do want to point out what is going on the smaller level of astrology that doesn't take 2,000 years or 20,000 years, looking at the Neptune movement right now, because Neptune has been in Pisces for a minute, and it will continue to be in Pisces. And with Neptune in Pisces, and now having Jupiter and Saturn in Aquarius, that is such on the cusp energy, having to share that energy of Neptune being at home in Pisces, and Neptune having the same energy as Pisces, of what I was saying earlier, of some illusion, a little bit of deception, also spirituality, even escapism. And that's the thing too, moving out of that Pisces age of drugs and everybody wanting to escape from reality. We have to be present right now. We have to be mentally available right now. And so that's the movement as well. But with Neptune and Pisces, there is a lot of chance for there continue to be deception, because of the fact that we are still moving out of that age of Pisces. But then that Jupiter and Saturn moving into Aquarius is helping us to maybe better combat that Neptune and Pisces energy and the overarching Pisces Aquarius duality that's going on right now. I think that that's all the points that I have. I really hope that you felt like this video was helpful. If anyone is looking to better understand how all of this is affecting them, specifically the conjunction that's happening between Saturn and Jupiter, and how that's going to affect you for the next year, I'm actually doing readings for those. I was doing a special, but I will soon just be adding it to my site. And it will just kind of be like an overview for the year, like moving forward, as far as how Jupiter and Saturn are going to be affecting you as we are ushered into this age of Aquarius that we all have been speaking of. So yeah, let me know in the comments what your thoughts are about all of this, and any opinions you have about the age of Aquarius, any predictions you feel like you have, whether it's dreams or omens or just your own astrology knowledge. I'd love to discuss with you guys. Thank you so much. Subscribe, like, follow me on Instagram, all of that stuff. I'll leave the links below. And yeah, thank you so much, guys. Have a good day. Bye-bye.